Hi, I'm the key dropper, Cliff Massey Jr. Thank you for joining me on When Passion Calls. My guest today is a drummer and vocalist for the band Mobius Pieces. The band is described as having a sound that's a fusion of R&B and soul. They released their debut single, Elara, am I pronouncing that right?
Yes, sir.
Elara in August, and followed it with the single Old Soul in October. Both singles are available all around the internet, including places like Amazon, Google Play, Pandora, Spotify, Apple Music. I'll have a much more comprehensive list of places you can get these singles on this below this video. Cameron Barnett, welcome and thank you for joining me on When Passion Calls.
Thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely. All right, let's get started. I talk to everyone about identifying with your passion, even if you're not completely making a living doing your passion. So I want to know, especially considering you put down that you were a vocalist as well as a drummer. How do you identify yourself when people ask you, what do you do, or who, or what are you? How do you self-identify?
I've been a musician far longer than I've been anything else, so that's usually first.
So is it musician, you say?
Yeah. I started at a really young age. My dad was a drummer, so that was kind of gonna happen, whether I wanted to or not. At least try it out. He never really forced me to do anything. He just wanted me to be happy with what I did. And my mother as well, she sang, and my grandmother on my mom's side played the marimba and the piano and stuff like that. And my grandfather was a saxophonist. He also played cornet and other instruments as well. So I was born into a musical family. So first and foremost, I identify as a musician. And vocalist kind of just came. I didn't do choir in high school or none of that. That was all marching band and stuff. But
gotcha.
The passion kind of, I guess I would say, came after I figured out I didn't really enjoy school too much. I wasn't going for music in school. But
okay.
At that time, that was one of the things I didn't want to go to school for, because I didn't want to get burned out. Because I've been doing it. I've been playing for a long time. I've had lessons with awesome people. My band directors in high school were phenomenal.
Okay.
And the people I was around, I was around great musicians. It instilled the kind of hunger to want to get better and stuff like that. Man, like I was saying, I've been doing this for a really long time, and as of maybe 8 years ago, it really turned into life to where I was sacrificing a lot to get to play. Beale Street down here is a fascinating thing that is unique. It's wild. You have the opportunity to play with people who have played in front of thousands of people with some of the greatest artists, like Stax artists. Like it's insane. So I really, I went down to Beale Street when I first moved down here, and for a while, I was going up to bands and saying, hey, let me sit down on one. I don't know, man. We'll see what we can do. And I'd wait it out and wait it out and wait it out. I'd never get to play. And that happened for, I don't know, probably the first 6 months I was down here when I got to go, because I moved when I was 20. So I couldn't really go into any bars or anything.
Right.
The age change, 21 really, really helped out a lot. So I could get into bars and really experience that aspect. So I kind of got it in my mind, one of the biggest sacrifices is money. This stuff costs a lot of money to do. And it's not only to buy the gear, but sometimes to play. I would drop $20, $30 in that tip jar just to get me up on stage. I've got a couple, job offers from that, but it really never turned out to anything. But it was still really cool. And it's like the lifestyle. It's most people think that this is a hobby. They really harp on that. What do you do for a living? Well, honestly, sometimes I make more money playing music than I do from my regular job. And
right.
So my regular job's not bad,
Right.
And some people just can't grasp that I'm having fun for a living. You know,
Right.
this is something that I really enjoy doing. And another thing on that is, you know, the connections that you make with people through music. Music is colorblind in a way, but in another way, it's absolutely full of color, 100%,
Right.
which is absolutely wonderful.
Right.
It's one of the things I love about Memphis, and it's I love it down here, man. The musicians, the capabilities are endless, and it's just I think it's a great lifestyle to live. Whatever your accountant that makes six figures or whatever, or
Right.
your Fortune 500 VP, whatever he thinks or she thinks,
Mhm.
you know, it's capable to make a living from this for sure. So why not let music be life? You know,
Yeah. That's awesome. That is awesome.
it's really fun. The Fortune 500 CEO, the guy that's making, you know, millions and millions of dollars a year, that's up in that way higher tax bracket than you and me,
Right.
is having little to no fun at his day job,
Right.
and he might have played trumpet in high school, or hell, even tuba, and doesn't
Mhm.
realize that he can make a living doing this stuff. It's all about where you're at, who you know, and how hard
Mhm.
you're willing to work, because it's a lot of work, and
Yeah.
it's a lot of failure too,
Yeah.
ton of failure.
Well, that's
But
the thing. You got to find your passion,
uh,
and you've got to. It's got to be something you're really, really passionate about, because when you go for it, it is hard work,
dude,
and that's what drives you through it, because you love it so much. You're willing
yeah.
to keep going. You
You
know.
know, and it's not only hard work behind the kit, you know, as a drummer, or, you know, behind the piano, or, you know, playing a guitar. It's also hard social work. You know, you got to go out and meet people. You have to go spend money in bars and get to know these people, and you know, of course, if you're dropping $50 every time you walk into their bar, you're a small blip on your radar. But if you bring in five, six, seven people that's spending that as well, and it's usually a bar that only makes a couple $1,000s a night,
Hmm.
they're going to remember you. So
Huh.
they're going to let my band play there,
Oh.
or take my word, like, hey, you guys need to get these guys in there as well. Like, it's all
Hmm.
about helping each other.
That's cool. That's an aspect of it you don't know if you're not a part of it. That's something I've never heard before.
Yeah,
It's really interesting. Yeah.
it's wild.
So, what specifically do you enjoy? Oh, hold. Okay, see, you can't flash this the cup and not. You got to put that back up there. I got to see that. That is awesome. That is awesome.
My guitar player's grandmother made that for us. It's pretty cool.
No kidding. Wow,
Yeah,
I'm loving that.
it's got a picture of like all the members and past members and stuff.
Uh-huh. Where are you on there?
Let's see. I might not be on there. Oh, I'm right down here, right there.
Okay, gotcha. Oh, there you are. Okay,
Yep.
cool. Yeah, that's awesome. I saw the little emblem in the corner. It's like we got to take a look at that.
It's selective marketing, man.
Yeah, there you go. That's exactly it, man. So, talk about what specifically you enjoy about music.
I really like the connections I make with people are really sometimes touching, man. You know, you get to meet these people first and foremost. Hey, my name's Cam. I'm a drummer. Like, hopefully, I get to sit in with you sometime.
Mm-hmm.
I meet them again. You know, it might not be that night. It might be 6 months down the road. Oh, hey, for me, but my name's Cam. Can I sit in? Sure, whatever. And then you get to be a part of that man's or woman's journey in a sense of, you know, you hear the pain in their instrument, or you hear how not good they are, or how astoundingly different they are from, you know, the other musicians in Memphis or in the United States or even in the world. You play with some
Mm-hmm.
really unique people around here, and I really cherish that. It's an interesting life journey in Memphis for sure.
That's awesome.
The enjoy most is probably the people you meet and the connections you make while playing. It's like
Mm-hmm.
it's almost an instant friendship, you know.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure you can relate to each other in ways that other people can't.
A
Yeah.
little better, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if you can have, you know, talks about rhythm and harmony and other stuff, like, you know, I've played with people that have master's degrees in composition, and I've
Mm-hmm.
played with people who are far better and have no degrees. but I'm playing for 20 years, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not the case every time, because if they got a master's degree in composition, they're usually pretty good, or at least know a lot about it.
Right.
You got a lot of those down here. University of Memphis has got a fantastic music program, stuff like that. So got a lot of those down here.
That's cool. Cool. So how does it feel like when you're playing your music? How does it feel when you're like when you're they'll have moments when you get lost in your music when you're actually playing? How does that feel? How to describe that feeling?
Oh man, that's a tough one, dude. It's I mean, I would describe it as just that. You're kind of lost in the moment and vibing off of each other, which is what I like most about getting lost in the moment, quote unquote,
Mm-hmm.
you know. It's interesting, man. It's like a true sense of freedom, you know. It's wild. I wish you played an instrument so we could agree on it, but it's I mean, you might agree, but it's like it's a warm feeling, you know. You're totally accepted, yet no one gives a damn. At the same time, you know, your political standing doesn't matter, your religion doesn't matter, your skin color doesn't matter. It's everything's right with the world when you're all vibing together. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I understand. Yeah,
it's really it's special. Yeah. I wish more people could dig like that. You know?
Yeah, it's cool because the more I do this, I was telling my wife, I'm seeing the same themes coming up when I'm talking to people. And you use the key word that everybody has used so far: freedom. Mm-hmm. When you're doing what you love, when you hit that moment, that place, there's a freedom. You almost feel like you're, you know. And my emblem, as a matter of fact, is a bird flying away, because that's what I want people to feel.
Totally.
That you hit that moment, no matter what it is. It could be like somebody the other day said, you could collect power tools. You can be passionate about collecting power tools, but whatever it is, when you feel it and you get to that moment, yeah, you feel like you can fly.
You
it's
know,
the coolest thing in the world.
That accountant with that master's degree, and he might be, or she might be sitting there loving what they do.
Right, exactly.
You never know.
Yeah.
You never know.
But you do know. But that's the thing. It's funny because you know when you talk to the person. Mm-hmm. You can tell the difference between the person who's just going through the motions because they're making six figures, and somebody who's like, I would do this if I wasn't making a dime. I just love what I do.
Exactly. You know, and there's been conversations down here, you know, and back up home in the Quad Cities, you know, how you doing? How you been? You know, I haven't seen you in 6 years. I haven't seen people since graduation. You know, what are you doing these days? That's one of the biggest lost connection questions that you get. You know, what are you doing these days? Well, I'm in a band. You are, you know, did you go to college or?
Yeah.
It's those questions, and they're kind of not disappointed, but kind of like it makes them feel better because they do have a bachelor's degree or in whatever. And then I ask them, you know, you like what you do? And they say, man, it sucks, dude, but it pays the bills.
It's the bills, yeah.
Man, I got one of those too, but it's part-time, and you know, it doesn't suck all the time because it's what you make it, you know?
Right.
But music is definitely not fun every time.
Right, and that's the thing. It's when you're paying the bills with something else, but you're doing what you have that passion for. Number one, it makes it more tolerable because you get to do what you love, and then it makes me personally, one of the main reasons I started this show. I get sad when I hear people say that. Oh, it pays the bills. You know, I got to get back to the grind, and they don't have anything else in their lives they're passionate about.
Nope.
You know,
like, you know, I've some of the kids that I work with, you know, they're 19, 20 years old. They're going to college for whatever it is, you know, just to get drunk on the weekends or get drunk on the weekdays and live life as it is right now. And I'm like, you know, what do you want to do? Oh, I want to be a firefighter. That's cool. Like that's awesome. You're going to potentially save lives, or, you know, whatever the case. You know, what do you do outside of that? I mean, I play video games, or I go to the mall or whatever. They don't really, it's not that they don't have a talent, because, you know, they might be really good at video games, but that's not that's not what they want to do for the rest of their, like, if you ask some people, what do they want to do for the rest of their life? They'll give you some weird answers.
Yeah.
Weird answers. Like, well, in my opinion, they might be weird, but, I've gotten, I want to create my own makeup line. That's awesome. I want to be a marine biologist. That's super cool. Like, if that's what you want to do for the rest of your life, that's cool. Like,
yeah.
One of my grandmother told me, do something that will always be around. Like,
oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Get involved with something that'll never fade away. And I don't think music's ever going to fade away. Luckily, it's been a part of my life for the whole
right.
time. I didn't just start playing, or I didn't just find out, like, I think I might be good at this,
Right.
But
that's really cool.
I was lucky in that aspect, for sure.
There's a guy I worked with. You talk about weird, and it's funny because it's weird in a good way, because people's interests are so varied. I always say, if everybody did what they were passionate about, the world would be fine. Because people are passionate about some stuff you would never think. There's a guy I worked with, and as a matter of fact, I'm trying to contact him. I want to get him on the show. This guy grows mushrooms for a living. Just mushrooms. That's his thing. Just awesome. Mushrooms. I'm like, how do you just pick that? But I'm telling you, I sat down with this guy, had a conversation with him, and conversations like the one I had with him are the reason I'm doing what I'm doing. He gets up so hard for mushrooms, guy. You know what I'm saying? He has you feeling it, man. He's like, man, maybe I need to farm some mushrooms. You know what I'm saying?
Makes you but it's your passion.
Yeah, it's like, man. But it's like everybody has their own thing, man. You just got to you roll what your thing is,
There are some musicians down here that have some fantastic careers,
Right.
Some are teachers in inner city schools trying to make a difference for the community, which I think there needs to be more people caring about that. In more than just here,
Yeah.
You've got some people that are, nurses saving lives and then getting off work and going and playing like shows at Red Rocks and stuff. Like, there's some fantastic musicians down here that have wonderful day jobs as well, and they get to dabble in two kind of passions,
Yeah.
But you also have some musicians that are fantastic and they don't want to really do this for a living. They want to succumb to society, and I kind of want to. I don't, and honestly, I think that's a place of too many failures mentally. They just got tired. They know that they can do it for the rest of their lives, but sometimes they might cop to it being easier to get a day job and still make good enough money to live for the rest of your life. And I can't knock that. You do what you want, but I'm going to be doing this for the rest of my life, whether I'm successful or not.
Yeah. Do you think those people are, do you think they would honestly, if they were honest with themselves, they would rather just be doing music? And that the people you're talking about, do you think that they, like you said, they've succumbed, so they're kind of like resigned to the fact that they feel like they can't do it the way they want to?
I think that those people kind of lose hope in themselves or lose faith in themselves because money is a bigger issue. I didn't come from money. It's not like I've got mommy and daddy sending me money every month to cover rent. I have a day job that I have to work to be able to pay my bills and stuff. And then I get to do this for fun because I have a day job that's pays the bills.
Right.
So I can truly enjoy this. I don't have to stress out about going and making money. I think there's a point in everyone's career when they say, all right, I want to do this full time. I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to play every night of the week. And I'm almost there, but it takes time.
Yeah.
But, that comes with help. People are going to call you, hey, man, I know you're a really good musician. I need you to come down and do this. It pays $100 a man or $200 a man or hell, $50 a man. And you can not necessarily afford to, but you want to be able to afford to go to those kind of shows.
Right.
So you'll start moving your lifestyle around and, maybe skipping lunch because you need $50 gas to get to, Blytheville, Arkansas or wherever to play this gig in this field for a wedding reception for
Right.
nobody that you know, but hell, it pays $400 a man, so you can eat afterwards.
Yeah, right.
But you got those people who are tired of throwing $5,000, $10,000 worth of gear into a $500 car for a $50 gig. They're really tired of it. And people down here know their worth, which is, I think, wonderful. But they're not fighting for it. They're stuck fighting over crumbs. They're not seeing the big picture, which is why I think myself and a few other musicians that I do know, I'm sure there's many, but the few that I can speak behind, I think we're doing it right, which takes time, man. Takes time, effort, a lot of sacrifice. But,
performers. Seems like performers understand the hustle in a way that others don't. And in a way that other people don't. Like they want to do things, but they don't understand the grind and the hustle the way. Seems like performers have an innate understanding. It's like, if I want to do this, it's going to be a grind. I'm going to have to come out of pocket. And it's like, if you can understand that with anything you're passionate about, performing or whatever you want to do, then it puts you in a place where you can really start getting that happiness and that joy and that fulfillment out of life that you need to get before you start making the money. Because you got to get it before, because if you're not getting it before, you're not going to get to the place where you're making the money, unless you're really lucky.
Exactly.
Let's go on. What has been your biggest struggle in pursuing your passion?
Man, the same thing that's the biggest necessity. So I'll backtrack just a little bit. When I moved down here, I moved down to Atoka, Tennessee, which is about 50 minutes away from Memphis. Some people would, I guess this part of my life when I moved down there was one of the times where I really realized that I was going to have to sacrifice quite a bit, spend $30 in gas to go there and back and not play, because there's little to no music in Atoka.
Gotcha.
Like, it's not Beale Street. It's not Madison Avenue. It's just not. So you have to go to those places. And for 2 years, my girlfriend Anna was going to nursing school. She couldn't work, so I had to pay all the bills. The both of our bills, which was a pretty big sacrifice. I couldn't really play as often as I wanted to. We couldn't live in our own. I couldn't afford to pay rent and all of our bills, so we moved into our parents' house. I moved into my dad's and she moved into her mom's, and then for a while I moved into her mom's, and then I moved back to dad's because it was too strenuous on work, because I was on call 24/7. And then I was able to, mutually separate from that job shortly before she graduated and transitioned to where I'm at now. But I really couldn't go meet people. I really couldn't afford to, with money and time, to go down and meet 3 people that'll talk to me about what I want to talk about, or what they want to talk about, which is music. Talk about that, and talk about maybe being in a band together, or, hey, let me sit in, and here's my phone number. If you ever need a drummer, please call me. I wasn't able to do that. Now, it's a 15-minute drive. Like, that's nothing. It's peanuts. I can do that every day, which I think has been one of the biggest struggles. Meeting people and sustaining that relationship, because I would go down there. I'd try to do it like once a month or twice a month. Go to the places I enjoyed going, or me and Anna would go to dinner, and we'd see a band like Lafayette's Music Room. Go down there, meet people, and come back 3 months later, and they'll kind of forgot who you are because you don't have a way to contact or keep in touch. Being 15 minutes away, I every Tuesday I host kind of like an open jam for musicians. It's kind of like an open mic, but musicians with instruments. Every Tuesday at Canvas, musicians have been coming. I think last week we had, aside from me and the guitarist and another bass player that showed up, we had maybe 15 extra people that wanted to get up and hang around and play and stuff. And that's like part of why I do this, because it's like I met 20 people I'd never met before. And
That's awesome.
It was that easy, you know.
Yeah. Where do you do this now?
Canvas of Memphis. It's a bar, art lounge.
Mm-hmm.
It's a smaller venue, but it's dope, man. It's really open-minded place. You know, on the bathrooms, you know, you typically have 2 bathroom doors, right? At a venue, you got a men's bathroom and a women's bathroom.
Uh-huh.
Well, on the doors of these respective bathrooms, one says nobody and the other one says cares. So it's like they made 2 unisex bathrooms or
Oh, wow.
it's just a weird thing that they have. It's a cool place. Really open-minded to any kind of music. You know, they have hardcore black metal bands that do nothing but growl for 20 minutes, and then you have, you know, bands like us who come in with singers and horns and lay down a vibe for 20 minutes, you know, or however long you want to play.
So going the opposite direction, what has been your biggest win?
Honestly, as far as music, being able to play my instrument whenever I want has been awesome. You know, I make noise to a lot of people. I bang on drums and cymbals, and people look at me like, "You just shut up, dude. Just quit." Like I live in a house that has a 0 lot. You know, we got a small backyard. I could walk in between my neighbors and my house and touch it like this. You know, it's
oh, wow, okay.
close. So, you know, of course, I have to talk to the people around us and say, "Hey, I'm a drummer. I got a guitar player for a roommate as well.
Right.
We're going to be making noise. We're going to try not to disturb you. We're going to soundproof the room as best as we can." But they're all really cool, and they really, really don't mind. And I think I've been lucky to meet some really nice people and who share the same passion, and then some that don't share the same passion, but they're fantastic musicians and love doing it. They just have other obligations, you know.
Gotcha.
Which is totally understandable. I'm thankful I haven't gotten caught up in the life situation, you know, where you have to put it on hold and do life or whatever. You know, I don't have any kids.
Right.
I got a dog. He's pretty chill. He doesn't bother me much. And Anna's super supportive. The people around me, man, have really been helpful. The people I've met when I first moved down here, Adam, my guitarist, is business partner, I guess you would say, and it's super helpful. Really smart guy, way smarter than I am, which is awesome. Just the people, man. The people have been absolutely wonderful.
You gotta explain the name.
All right, I get that a lot, man. So I guess the easiest way to explain this, I guess I'll insert Google Mobius strip. That'll help out a lot for you. But so Mobius is the last name of a German mathematician. I believe early 1800s. I want to say he founded this theory. Adam's way better at this, like I said. So you take a piece of paper. Let's do it. All right.
Oh, yes.
I got a receipt.
Visual aids. I'm loving this.
Check it out. Visual aid. You take this and you do this. You just connect both ends. Okay. It's a circle, you know, whatever. You got that. So you take one of the ends and just flip it and then connect it.
Okay.
So imagine yourself as an ant, we'll say, and you're walking along the top of the paper, the flat side of the paper. You will always be on the same side. You will never. It will look like you're on the other side of the paper, but you'll always be on the same side. So it's in a way, it's a way for a 2 or 3 dimensional being to experience the 4th dimension.
Gotcha.
In a way. But so Hiatus Coyote released this song. I believe it's called Mobius Streak. But it's super cool. That's how we found about Mobius. We Googled what that was, and then we got all that. But Pieces part of it, this is Adam's band. This is Adam's baby. So
Okay.
I came in trying to find a guitarist or a bass player, anybody who wanted to do this like I did, and I found the same passion and the same drive in Adam. So we've been, almost best friends ever since.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a vision of how to do things, and I agreed like almost immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of created Mobius Pieces around that vision. I think the tail end of these singles that we're releasing better tell where we're going.
Okay.
So stay tuned. But
yes, sir.
Pieces kind of allows us to it's the never ending kind of aspect to it. That we didn't. It's not like we can have a 30-piece band, or we can have an 8-piece band, or we can be a 4-piece band.
Oh wow, okay.
We could be a trio, and the potential band members and past band members as well. They are all a piece of us,
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You already broke this down so many times. My next question was, what do you like most about being in a band versus being solo? But you have.
I would be a terrible solo artist, dude. I would be a terrible solo artist.
Why is that?
Well, I don't know. I don't think I'd be a terrible solo artist, but yeah, I really enjoy playing with other people, and I don't really want to be the center of attention, man. I don't really, you said vocalist.
Yeah.
When people think vocalist, obviously you got a microphone right in front of your hand.
Right.
Or right in front of your mouth, and you're singing into it.
Right.
Other people think, oh, lead vocalist, or all right, he must be backup vocalist, or whatever.
Right.
It's just I can sing a little bit, but I don't at all whatsoever want to be a front man. I like that I sit back. Yeah, I'm really loud, but I think I'm okay at it at least, But yeah, I don't really want to be the center of attention. I don't like that.
Okay.
So the solo thing, I feel like you've got to have that front man. You've got to have something special. It's you've got to want to be seen and stuff like that. And I'm totally fine with not being seen. I would be perfectly fine with being J. Cole's drummer, because even though he's one of his best friends, he puts him behind the props and everything, because it's all about J. Cole.
Right.
But like, you can still hear his drummer loud and clear. I would love to do that. That would be awesome. But yeah, I don't. Screw the solo thing. I'm good on that.
Okay.
I'm good on that.
All right. Talk about the evolution of Mobius Pieces over the last year. You all kind of moved toward releasing. You released your debut single in October. Tell me the process you all went through, like over the last 6 months or a year, that got you to that point where you all felt like you all were ready to do that.
Okay. Well, I'll first. We met the bass player that's on the album. We met him. Shoot, you got me thinking now. Probably a year and a half ago.
Okay.
And Adam went to college with him at Dyersburg State for 2 years, so he knew him. So when we had to replace our bass player before him, we reached out to him and said, "Hey, man, you know any bass players?" And he's like, "Well, I play bass."
Okay.
Okay. Well,
that's convenient.
Yeah. Come on. Which Adam knew that, but he didn't know that if he was wanting to work or what he was doing. He hadn't talked to him in a couple of years. So, sure enough, he comes out, and this man is one of the best bass players I've played with in my entire life. Like, the dude is just killing. And we end up acquiring his now wife on trumpet as well, which is kind of what we wanted to do in the first place. Not necessarily get her, but get a horn, and it just worked out. And she's phenomenal as well. And then we were able to. Now this is while we were still an hour away, in Atoka or in Covington. It was where our home studio was, where we'd meet and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So we would then now we're able to start booking shows because we got a full band.
Right.
We get a keyboard in on it as well, and we got that through the bass player and trumpet player. We got, I should say their names, Frank and Shayla. They're wonderful people. We got Gerald through them, and we really vibed with him. And then I called a friend and asked him if he knew any saxophone players or trombone players, and he said, yeah, his buddy Josh is phenomenal. Met him, phenomenal. So it really worked out. One after another. Then he said, well, we need to get a trombone in on this. I got the perfect guy. So we called Greg, and sure enough, this cat from Tulsa, Oklahoma, who's doing some kind of master's program. He's told me many times, but I forgot. He's a fantastic musician. The man is just one big brain that can play trombone. Like, this man is highly intelligent and knows his craft and shares the same kind of passion that myself and Adam and the rest of the band members do. And, we got that, and me and Adam, kind of stepped back out of the situation and was like, man, we got some really good musicians. We need to get this in the studio and at least put something down. So we acquired these 5 songs or whatever, and we got in touch with a gentleman named Calvin Lauber at Young Avenue Sound in Midtown in Memphis, Cooper Young area. Literally one of the best music engineers I've ever worked with, audio engineer rather. This guy has an incredible space at Young Avenue Studio, and it was undeniable. As soon as we walked in, we was like, this is the place. We're doing it. Well, let's plan it. Of course we got to pay you. So let's do that. And then we'll set our dates and get in and get out and be done. So we spent 3 days in the studio. The exact days really don't matter, but I think it was February of this year. We recorded everything, and we got it back not too long ago, finalized and everything, and we just were absolutely blown away with the quality and everything. It sounds great. Excuse me. Sounds great, and we couldn't be happier, man. It's the process was a long and arduous one, but I wouldn't change nothing about it, man. Okay. It was what I think each studio experience that we have are going to be special, and I think a lot of musicians will agree with that. When you go into the studio, you got to take a sense of professionalism with you. You got to know your shit because you're on someone else's dime,
right?
Or you might be even worse, on your own dime, which is how we did it. But I don't want to owe anybody money. We're trying to stay away from not necessarily getting signed, because we would love to work with a label or something like that. But we want it to be on better terms than what some bands around the United States are being dealt right now.
Right.
And that just comes with time and know-how and stuff like that. So yeah, that studio process took 3 days. Altogether probably 30 hours. Okay. Like I said, we had some fantastic musicians, as you heard. We had wonderfully prepared musicians. When we walked in, we were ready to go, which I think helped us out a lot. We didn't have to write anything in the studio, which takes a lot of time. Yeah. But with that being said, our next studio days, our next studio stint will probably be like 6 to 7 days. So we can really take extra time to do things right. Not that we did anything wrong the first time. We just saw things that we could do better. Gotcha. Some time management stuff, even though it was 3 days, it was. Next time we'll go in and instead of, I think we did 7 songs altogether. Instead of 7, we'll probably do 12 or 13 songs. Release a few of those as singles and then do an album. But we're, steady as she rolls, man. I'm not in a rush. Yeah. Stuff takes time.
Yeah. It seems like I got a plan. That's cool, though. Tell me about the debut single. How did you choose that one for it to be the first one you ever put out?
So originally we were going to do this as an EP. We were just going to release this as an EP. And we had some stuff happen to where we had to part ways with some musicians and stuff. Of course, it was all mutual, you know, no hard feelings towards anybody or anything. And we decided to take some time and kind of step back and look once again, what could we be doing better? You know, what do we have that's not working? What is definitely working? And we need to establish a presence on YouTube and Instagram and the social media outlets or the social media platforms rather that really not necessarily cater to musicians, but work better for musicians. And that just takes time as well and effort really. But so we're kind of Ilara. It's one of Jupiter's moons. Back to the space thing, you know, really, me and Adam are really into space stuff, you know, Space Force, just kidding. But, yeah, so Ilara is one of Jupiter's moons. It kind of, I think Adam had wrote that down as like a possible name of something like a while back, and it just stuck, just rolled with it. And I think it fits well. It like you said, it gets people asking, gets people intrigued.
Yeah. So the show is all about following your passion, and I like to get my guest's perspective on that. So from your perspective, how important do you feel it is, and we kind of touched on this a little bit, but how important do you feel it is for people to pursue their passions in life?
As a total overall, like, self-happiness, man, like, if you don't enjoy your job, quit your fucking job. Like, quit your job. It's only a job. Like, I understand you might have went to college for it. You might have spent a lot of money on loans and already paid them back or whatever. If you don't like your job, what you do for a living, sometimes you spend more time at your job than you do with your family,
Right?
Who you say you love. I think that's first and foremost. If you're at your job more than you're with your family, quit your job, because that can't be healthy. Now, if you do genuinely love that job and it's not a mental stress and it doesn't take away from family, like, you know, you have a wife and 3 kids and, you know, she's unhappy because you're not around to see the kids a lot because you're working. You may love it, but it makes for a stressful home life. You know?
Right, exactly.
You got to keep the balance. And I feel like the music industry has a tendency to not keep the balance because, you know, musicians are sometimes on tour for, you know, 300 days out of the year if you're really successful. With that, I leave you with, you know, like I said earlier, you kind of shape how you want your life to be. You kind of move stuff around and make it fit. You know,
right.
Well, some people think that they're helpless. I can't quit my job. That pays my bills. Like, well, you've got a degree, so at least put some feelers out there. Or you don't have a degree. Hell, you got a high school diploma. If you are worth a damn, McDonald's will hire you on the spot. If you're a person who keeps yourself up and doesn't act a fool and is reliable. Reliability is, like, I think one of the biggest misses that today's society is having, and in a lot of different ways. You know, you know, just if you're not happy with what you're doing, find something that you really, really like doing and do it. I'm sure you can make a living out of it. And if you can't, just keep it as a hobby. And there's your medium. You know, you know, I hate telling people what to do because I don't want to be the boss, but like if you truly don't like what you're doing, quit your job. It's just a job.
Right.
Like,
that people don't understand there's so many different ways to make a living. They act like that's the only, what they're doing right then and there is the only possible way to make money. It's like there's so many ways to make a living. Maybe
we'll go viral after I say this. I hope we do, Cliff, for the both of our sakes. But there are people making money, making millions and millions of dollars, mumbling into a microphone over a pretty fat beat, or or a shitty moment. There are folks out there named Tekashi 6ix9ine with tattoos all over their face and just acting a fool and making millions of dollars and getting on radio shows and copping to the fact that they really don't spend much time on what they do. They're kind of just doing this because, you know, I have been on the charts with every single song I've put out. It's top number one. So, I mean, in a way, I can't knock the dude because I'm sitting here jealous. You know, I wish I not necessarily had that kind of income, but I wish I was traveling the world like he was. You know, I don't listen to his music for the most part, but my point is there are people out there that don't give a damn about the type of music that they're putting out, and they're making millions. Like, you know, our band is something that, like, we take this stuff seriously, maybe sometimes a little too seriously, but it's something I'm very passionate about. You know, it's something that Adam's real passionate about, and the other people that we've been working with that's something that they want to do. And to people who don't want to do something like that, man, I don't understand how you can live happily. It's all about happiness. Like,
right.
This United States is a fucked up place, Cliff. You didn't know. And it's a hell of a lot easier to deal with it when you're doing something you love to do.
Yeah.
When you're not leaving your family, the people you love, to go do something you can't stand.
Right.
You know, if you're not with them, at least like what you're doing.
Right. Exactly right.
Shit.
That's the cool thing, and that's what I try to tell people. The country's definitely got its issues, because I agree with you completely. But it also is a place where you can do whatever you want to do, if you are willing to put in the sacrifice and the work. Now, it's not going to fall in your lap.
No.
But if you're willing to hustle and grind, there's almost nothing you can't do in this country. Almost nothing. No matter who you are. I mean, I'm a black guy sitting here saying this. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter who you are. I mean, seriously, you hear people saying about having so many limitations and stuff. I don't care who you are. You know, no matter your race, no matter your gender, no matter what. There was I was looking at a video. I can't find it online for the life of me. There was this girl who was laying on the ground. She had no arms and no legs. She had a paintbrush in her mouth. Yeah. And it was taking her forever to paint this painting. But this girl painted this painting with her mouth.
And it was beautiful.
Laying on the ground.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I'm like, oh my God. And I'm complaining about what? I'm saying, what are my limitations? What are my obstacles? Exactly. And it was taking her forever to paint this thing, man, because she's doing it with her mouth. I'm like, oh my God. I mean, if you are willing to put in the work in this country, I don't know about other places, but in this country, if you're willing to put in the work, you can do just about anything you want to.
You're exactly right, because the country instills a sort of freedom. Like, you can go to the store at any time of night. You don't have a curfew. There's not a place where you know, no, you can't go do what you want to. You know, there's you know, if you're in the penal system, you can't really do what you want. But, you know, a majority of us are outside of the jail cell, so
right.
we can do what we like when we like, and for the most part. And
but you know what's funny? I want to go back right quick to something you said, because I think it's to me it's poignant. To me, this is how I feel about it. You were talking about artists who don't care, who are making millions, and then you talk about your band who takes things you said too seriously. I don't think there's such thing. I think when you're serious about something, that's the crazy people. I like there's a poem, I don't know it right off, but it's a poem called "The Mad Ones," and that's what it's talking about. People who are so obsessed with what they're doing. But I'm like, those are the people who changed the world, and I promise you, man, your band is much more likely to be remembered 100 years from now than the idiots making $1 million doing something they don't care about.
Well, thank you.
Because when you're passionate about something and you have that heart for it, it changes people. And that's what people remember. I always marvel at the fact that if you ask somebody to remember somebody from 100 years ago, who's more likely to be remembered, Cornelius Vanderbilt or Martin Luther King? You know what I'm saying?
Shit. Both of them, man, honestly, but Martin Luther King is known more. Because
and my point is, and I'm not saying Vanderbilt's not known, but my point about Vanderbilt is he was would have been a billionaire if you go by today's standards. Martin Luther King nowhere near that. So why do we remember him and not, you know, and not that we don't remember Vanderbilt, but my point is the money doesn't mean anything.
Money doesn't make the man, Cliff.
Right. Martin Luther King changed lives. He's got more streets named after him, more parks named after him, statues of him than your Vanderbilts, your Gettys, your Rockefellers. You know what I mean? We remember the Gandhis, we remember the Mother Teresas. You know what I mean?
They made an impact on history, and it's kind of like who made the bigger footprint, kind of, sort of. You know, there are so many people like, you know, Teddy Pendergrass, you know, Roy Hargrove just passed away. Like, that's insane. Like, people don't really know much about him. Roy Hargrove, I'm saying, but you got you know, he's been on so many people's albums, and he's the trumpet that you hear that you don't know that's him, but you know that horn line as soon as he comes in. Or you know, people have a different way of making their footprint, and I choose to give her hell trying to make mine with music, man. I'm not really good at much else. You know,
but that's where you're focusing is, so it doesn't matter. You know.
Yeah. If I firmly believe, like you said, in this country, I don't know about others, but if you're willing to work and put in the time and effort and make the sacrifices and still be happy with yourself, even though you may have turned down that job or turned down that gig, or, you know, maybe you quit playing for a couple of years and then you decided to get back on it regardless. If you're willing to put the time in, like, it will some way eventually in your lifetime, something will happen.
Yeah.
You just, it's how you choose to deal with it, and how you choose to take advantage of the opportunity.
Yeah. I believe that wholeheartedly, man. Right with you. All right. Have you ever been tempted to pursue a conventional life? Seems like your path is kind of set. Oh, have you?
Yes, okay. Man. Like I said, I went to college at Blackhawk Community College. Right out of high school for the most part. I was also working a job at John Deere, doing like a kind of like industrial maintenance kind of stuff. We was basically like the cleanup crew, the paint crew, making sure everything's going all right. It was a contracted company, making good money. And I was going to school. I was enrolled in pre-pharmacy, just getting my gen eds and stuff out of the way, and money was on my mind. I have a cousin that's a pharmacist. She makes great money. And that's what I saw. 6 figures. What? Give it to me. all I got to do is this. Okay. You know, school wasn't ever really hard. It was just, I didn't really enjoy it. I didn't like it. You know, it was just different. So, I did that. I remember telling my dad, of all people, at one point that, you know, I don't want to do music for a living. I just, like, I've been doing it for so long. I was 14 or 15 years old. I don't want to do it no more. I don't really want to, because, you know, what am I going to do in the Quad Cities? Like, I was taking so much stuff for granted, the time that I'd put in, and the time and effort and money that he'd put in, because, you know, I didn't have a job until I was 16. So who do you think was footing the bill? You know, I got an expensive drum set whenever I wanted it, you know, because they worked hard. They put in the work and did what they could. You know, like I said, I didn't come from money. They worked really hard to give me what they did. And, you know, I'm kind of, you know, I was thrown up in a time in my life where I really didn't know what I wanted to do. You know, I was still playing drums every day with my friends, and, you know, just making noise pretty much, not really thinking, okay, I could turn this into a successful business. I could turn myself into a successful business. And as I got older, and I read more, it really kind of like slapped me in the face, you know, when I moved down here, and like I would go up and play with these people who have played with, like, Howlin' Wolf, you know, bass players that have played with B.B. King, or you know, all the other iconic musicians that live down here, that everybody walks by them every day on Beale Street. You don't know who they are. Like, they don't look rich and famous, but you know, they played with some of the best blues musicians and R&B musicians of this generation and the last generation. You know, horn players that have played with Miles Davis. You know,
golly.
Yes, wild encounters. Their stories and stuff kind of was like, man, I why did I go to school for pre-pharmacy? Like, what is my problem? I took a trip down here shortly after I dropped out of college. And I fell in love, man. My dad lived down here for probably like a year before I moved down, maybe. And fell in love with the place. The music culture is absolutely astounding, man. I love it. I love Stax, like Sun Studio, all of it. Beale Street is just wild, man. I love it. The culture and everything. I wish busking was legal, and you didn't have to pull a permit, and you could be really loud, because that's kind of like my cup of tea. But it's a wonderful place, man. People talk bad about it all the time, of all different colors and walks of life. They all trash it, and they all preach on it. They love, this is my hometown, but they like talk so much shit about it. It's ridiculous. Yeah. I think it's a very unique place, man.
I tell people all the time, I love Memphis.
Memphis changed my mindset towards, like, I want to do this for a living. When I moved down here, I was like, yeah, I'm in the right place. That's what I really enjoy. I really like that. You know, it's still the right place. It hasn't changed. It hasn't kicked me out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
I enjoy it, man. I love it. The musicians and people you get to meet on a daily basis is wild. The capabilities are endless.
All right, now it's my last question on this segment.
Okay.
Imagine you're talking to a version of yourself, which you were talking about right then. Imagine you're talking to a version of yourself that's not following your passion like you're doing now. What would you tell that person? What would you tell yourself?
Quit being dumb. You know, like I like to tell. I like to tell myself, wake up. You know, like you're like, this is at the good times in life when you're killing it on stage with some of your best friends and there's no one in the bar. Like, wake up and enjoy the moment you're having with these people that are just on stage. And then when you're playing it and you're killing it in front of 1,000 people, or, you know, a whole stadium like the FedEx Forum, like it's like, if you're playing it, like I played there 5 days after I moved down here with a band that I met on my trip down here, but before I moved down, and I had to stop and smell the roses, like, right there. I was like, this is amazing. Like, this was like, that was the first time that I had really encountered Beale Street, and first time I'd been in the FedEx Forum, and I got to play the halftime show. Granted, it was up on the house stage, and it was just some covers, and like there was still like thousands of people there. Like, it was just electrifying. It was wonderful. But, you know, it's that kind of stuff that makes me happy that I am following what I want to do. But man, I would tell myself, get your head out of your ass, because I call it, some people call it a talent. I say, you've put in so much hard work for this. Like, Miles Davis, we'll get back to him. Miles Davis said, you know, white people just think that one day I woke up with the blues and picked up a trumpet and started playing. Like, that's not how it happened. He had to put in years and years of work,
right,
to get to where he was, and then years and years more to sustain what his legacy. You know what I mean?
Right.
And he helped a lot of people on his way. A lot of people. I mean, John Coltrane, Cannonball Adderley. You got he played with Duke Ellington. Louis Armstrong. Tons of people, man.
Golly. It's funny. I like asking this question. When I first crafted it, it was, what would you tell someone who's not following their passion? And now I like asking it like this, because it's more. Because when you're talking to somebody else, you're like, well, this and that. But it's like, what if it was you? Yeah. You know, like, I would say, I'm going to kick your behind if you don't do what you're supposed to, you know, and it comes out more powerful, you know.
Yeah, get your head out of your ass and just really, really think for a second of, like, do you really like? Because I mean, I've told myself that before, you know, like, you you hate this job. Like, you go to work and you come home pissed off because you hate your job. And
Right.
you know, all right, I got to eat, shower, go to sleep, get up and do it again. Like, that's enough to wear somebody down to the point where they are thinking like, what am I doing? I can't do this for the rest of my life. This is wild.
Yeah.
I don't want to put in this hard work because shit, it's been 10 years and nothing's came for it. But literally 6 months down the road, there could be some guy in a bar that's like, wow, this band's really got it going on. Let me make a couple phone calls.
Yeah.
He gets my card or Adam's card or whatever. And he calls us back and says, hey, we want to give you a shot.
Mm-hmm.
That the endless capabilities or the endless encounters with people here, it blows me away, man. There's every kind of person in Memphis.
Yeah.
I firmly believe that. You will meet every kind of person in this city.
That's very true.
For sure. Yeah.
I saw a story one time about a guy who, a guy or a company or a group, whoever it was, they had this, they were digging for gold. And they were digging for months and months and months, and they stopped because they were like, okay, this is a place where there's no gold. Mm-hmm. And somebody came back, I can't remember, 50 years later, something like this. I'm sure I'm butchering this story, but they came back like 50 years later, and they found the spot where they were digging, and 3 feet in, they found the vein of gold. And they were like, these people were 3 feet away from their breakthrough, and they stopped. It's like, and that's basically everybody in your whole life. That's everything. That's the story. Just keep going because you never know when you're 3 feet away from.
You never know. Like, you could be an inch away from something. Yep. You know, I look for my phone and sometimes it's an inch away from me. Like, if it was a snake, it would have bit me.
Right,
like,
right.
In the same kind of aspect, you know, you're always searching for not necessarily to get signed or to. I do this because, you know, it's something that I love to do. And my other passion is like traveling. Like, I get to do that. I get to do this and that. Like, come on. And then I can sustain a living by doing that because people will pay me to do that. Are you kidding me? How could somebody not want to do something like that, you know?
I think that it is really important to follow your dreams because you will never know what it's like to have something if you always building for somebody else.
Join me next week when my guest will be hairstylist Tiffany Bruce.
So we're going to get back to you, okay? Let's talk about what you're working on, your current projects right now. What are you working on right now?
Still the Mobius Pieces stuff, man. I firmly believe that if you put 100% into something, you can get something else out of it. You know, I'm working on just this one project.
What are your future goals? Like 5 years out, where are you looking to be?
Man, 5 years out, I'd like to have a couple tours under our belt, whether it be a week or two, you know, stints out to the beach and back, or to Chicago and back, or, you know, West Coast, East Coast, something. I want to be. I want to get this band on tour and travel, man. In that, I've got a much broader expectation for 5 years, but that's probably short term. Get on tour, get rolling, and get out there, man. Spread the name.